Crypto. You've heard the hype, you've seen the wild success stories, and you've definitely heard about the devastating crashes. It's a lot, right? It's a really confusing world. So today, we're going to cut through all that noise and build a clear framework so you can understand what is really going on. Let's dive in.
But first, let me start with a story. Get this, a young guy sets up a website. He calls it a crypto exchange. And before you know it, 350,000 people have poured their money in. And then, one day, he's gone. And so is all the money. Just vanished.
And just how much money are we talking about here? $2 billion. Yeah, that's a B, not a typo. $2 billion just disappeared into thin air. Now this isn't just some headline. This is a financial catastrophe that absolutely wrecked countless lives. So the big question is, how on earth did we get here?
To really get what's happening now, we've got to go back to the beginning. We need to look at the idea behind it all, what crypto was actually supposed to be.
The original vision for Bitcoin was honestly pretty radical. Imagine a financial system with no government looking over your shoulder, no banks taking a cut as the middlemen. The dream was for a direct person-to-person system for exchange, a brand new form of money completely outside the control of any state.
So yeah, this was way more than just some tech project. It was this radical, almost philosophical idea, and it was born from a really deep distrust of the traditional financial system that a lot of people felt had completely failed them.
Okay, so that was the dream. But what's the reality today? Has crypto actually become a new form of money? Or is it just kind of mania?
The word crypto itself gives us a pretty big clue. It comes from the Greek word for hidden, and the source material points out this fascinating parallel to an old phrase from the Ottoman Empire, dolap çevirmek, which basically meant doing shady financial deals that nobody on the outside could figure out. The implication? A lack of transparency baked right into the name.
So, if we're going to figure out if crypto is actually money, we need a standard, right? We need to know what we're measuring it against. Well, economists agree that for something to be real money, it has to do four things: be a medium of exchange, a unit of account, a store of value, and a standard for deferred payment.
All right, so how does Bitcoin do against that test? Well, as you can see here, the source material argues it's a total fail across the board. A medium of exchange? Not really, unless you count its heavy use in a listed trade. A unit of account or a store of value? Nope, its price is just way too volatile. It can swing by huge amounts in just a few hours. So based on this framework, it's just not really money.
Okay, so that brings up a really big question, right? If it's so flawed and so risky, why do so many people get sucked in? Well, to answer that, we need to talk about the human brain.
It's simple, really. Your brain, it's literally hardwired for the big score.
Let me break that down for you. For millions of years, our ancestors lived in a feast or famine world. Survival meant that when a rare, massive opportunity came along, like finding a huge source of food, you had to grab it instantly. So there's this ancient part of your brain that sees crypto's potential for insane gains, and it triggers that exact same feast response. Get it all right now before it's gone. And that powerful instinct can just completely steamroll your logical, rational brain.
This idea is captured perfectly by this infamous Turkish con man, Sulan Osman. This is a guy who literally sold public landmarks, like the Galata Tower, to people. And he famously said, "I have never in my life scammed an honest person." His point was that these cons don't just trick us, they prey on our own greed, that deep down desire to get something for nothing. And look, this is nothing new, not even close. The whole crypto craze is really just the latest chapter in a very long history of financial manias, where the same patterns just keep repeating themselves.
Just look at this timeline. You've got the banker crisis in the 80s, massive pyramid schemes in the 90s, all the way to cryptocurrency scams today. The technology changes, sure, but the underlying human behavior, that pattern of mania, it is strikingly similar.
So why does this keep happening? Well, a quote from the source material just hits the nail on the head. It says, "It is easier to open a crypto exchange today than it is to get a license to be a barber." Just think about that for a second. That's a shocking analogy, and it points to a massive, massive problem. What this all boils down to is a massive failure of regulation. The systems that are supposed to protect people, to protect your money, simply have not kept pace with technology. And that leaves this huge, wide open gap for scammers to walk right into.
Okay, so we've looked at the problem, the psychology behind it, the whole history. But where do we go from here? What's the path forward? let's talk about what real investment looks like. Think of it like this. A healthy economy needs money flowing through it, kind of like blood through your body. It has to circulate, right? It needs to flow into businesses, funding real growth, creating real value, not getting stuck and hoarded in these speculative pools where it doesn't do anything for anyone.
And this slide just lays it out perfectly. You've got two paths for your savings. On one side, you have speculation. That's just betting on price changes, like day trading crypto. It's a zero-sum game of winners and losers, and it creates zero new value for society. On the other side, you have real investment. That's funding the actual economy. That is what creates jobs, new products, and genuine growth for everyone.
So if there is one single thing you take away from all of this today, let it be this. It is absolutely crucial that we separate the speculative asset, the crypto coin itself, from the incredible underlying technology it's built on. They are not the same thing.
Which leaves us with this one final big question. Cryptocurrency as we know it today is the gamble. It's a high-stakes bet, and it's driven by hype and that deep-seated instinct we talked about. But is blockchain, the technology behind it all, is that the future? That's the question we should all be asking.